The year is 2017. We left 2016 with a new president that might have went to a certain island. So many celebrities just passed away. Okay, this is starting to feel a little bit negative. Pokemon Go got people to leave their house. And I'm still a Dragon Ball fan. Yes, I'm back recalling all the significant moments that happened in the Dragon Ball fandom during 2017. And if you're new here, there's a whole playlist on the top right hand corner that you can check out, so feel free to binge. Now let's get back to the video. Kicking off the year, we got the English dub for Dragon Ball Z Kai, the final chapters. And the main thing you should know about this dub is that it's kind of different from the Japanese broadcast, as they originally had 61 episodes, but for international releases they added another 8 episodes, which contain filler moments from the Buu saga, which kind of goes against the whole point of Dragon Ball Z Kai, and to further add, it had a whole new opening and ending theme. So instead of Kuzen Zetsu Go, we got Fight It Out, and rather than having the original ending themes, we got Never Give Up, which isn't a bad song, but you're really doing us a disservice when there's 5 other songs that are really good. But hey, Dragon Ball Z Kai is back for the West, and that's pretty cool. And so is the debut for Dragon Ball Super, and it only took 552 days. Remember when it took 3 months for Diamond to be released in English? And to further add, they used the Blu-ray animation corrections, which added more weight into re-experiencing the anime. Okay, now let's move on with Dragon Ball Super episode 73, as we got the Great Saiyan Man filler arc, along with the new ending theme, Evil Angel and Devil of Justice by The Collectors, which did get an animation revamp by episode 77 on February 5th. At this point, Team 4 Star hasn't uploaded a new episode, but they have started the Cell Versus series, which was incredibly funny and kickstarted another YouTuber's career.
I am gonna stomp a mud hole in your ass and walk it dry now!
So I want to give a shout out to Harry Carson 6526 for bringing up the Dragon Ball Super Bang Zoom dub. It was produced by Toonami Asia and it was exclusive to Southeast Asia. It pretty much had a totally different cast and it was criticized for its writing, censorship, and rushed pacing. They were only able to make 27 episodes. Apparently there was supposed to be a season 2, but sadly it got cancelled. Moving on to the first Dragon Ball Super chapter of the year, as we had Super Saiyan Rose making his first appearance. The next day there was this Toonami promo. We see a teaser for the next episode of Dragon Ball Z Kai, and if you listen closely, that is the Team 4 Star cast in there.
Mondo, cool!
His coolness is over 9,000!
And some of you may notice, but Team 4 Star ended up getting removed from that episode. Some speculate it has to do with toy animation, but I can't find any 100% guarantee on that. Nevertheless, the version that includes their voices in the dub was uploaded onto Xfinity on demand, so someone had found it and then uploaded that rip onto YouTube. So this could have been lost media if it wasn't for that. On January 29th, we got Dragon Ball Super episode 76, which had a next episode preview teasing the Tournament of Power arc. And here we see a female Broly, the other gods of destruction, some Supreme Kais, and a mysterious character in a hood. And to end January, we got Dokkan's 2nd year anniversary for Japan, featuring the Strength Super Saiyan 4 Goku and the AGL Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Now let's shift to February, as we got Daido Tomodachi's first Emo Gohan video.
Anyway, I don't see your mom here. Where is she?
She left.
But your mother is right-handed.
On the same day, Super Dragon Ball Heroes manga is on chapter 4, as we have the first appearance of Cell X. Soon after, Dragon Ball Super is on episode 77, and this is where the Tournament of Power arc begins. We got a new animation change, which I remember just shocked everyone, a new badass opening, which accompanied with the song Limit Breaker's X Survivor by Kiyoshi Hikawa, and it made people wonder why did Goku switch out to Super Saiyan Blue at that moment. Goku got scratched by a bullet, which Parascalers had a field day with that. Bulma is pregnant, which by the way, holy time skip, and Goku kickstarts the tournament through the Xenos. So around this time, there was detailed leaks of what the 12 Gods of Destruction would look like, and there was this fan drawing that almost perfectly captures it. Honestly, I don't even remember this. I just happened to come across this during my research, and I couldn't find any artworks from before February 8th. And we did get a good look at them on Dragon Ball Super episode 78, as we have the first look at the Null Realm, we got the 3v3 Xeno Expo, and also that the Grand Priest reveals that whichever team that loses will get their universe erased. A few days later, the latest V-Jump magazine has been released, and we get a good look at each of the Gods of Destruction. Not only that, but we also get insight on who designed them, whether it be Toyotaro or Toriyama. Also on February 17th, we got Dragon Ball Fusions finally released in the EU, so I was finally able to play it. And funnily enough, the game has been updated so much around this time that once you start playing it, you immediately get like Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegito, Merge Zamasu, Rose Goku Black, etc. Nonetheless, the game was still fun, and as someone whose only turn-based strategy game was Pokemon, that made me shift away from that franchise completely. Now it's February 21st, as we got the 21st chapter for the Dragon Ball Super manga. manga. We got Bulma explaining that she can't change the configuration to travel to a different time in Trunks' world, which was a plot hole that people pointed out, because how was Trunks able to skip the 3-year android training arc? This does get rectified in a later chapter. Also, everyone on Earth is dead, which makes the ending for this arc less sad, and we have Guasu confronting Goku Black, which to be honest is very similar to Han Solo confronting Kylo Ren, and I know that Toyotaro likes Star Wars, so I think there might have been some inspirational crossover over there. 2 days later, Toei Animation and Funimation revealed they have a new licensing agreement for Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super merchandise, so that they can distribute items from BioWorld, J-Corp, and Great Eastern Entertainment to the Western market. And onto some unserious news, a boy from Phoenix, Arizona was stung by 400 bees when he was shooting a BB gun at a junked car, not knowing that there was a bee nest inside. He could have died, but he powered through it because he wanted to be like Vegito. First thing, 1, Dragon Ball literally saved this kid's life, and 2, dodging bees is literally part of Master Roshi's training. And to cap off February, we got Xenoverse 2's second DLC pack. We got Champa and Vados as new characters, and a new DLC story, which switches up the Universe 6 tournament into a tag team match. Now we're on March, as we got Dragon Ball Super Episode 81, as we have Bergamo trying to convince the Zenos to retract the losing stipulation if he wins against Goku. He ended up losing, and of course the fandom ended up blaming Goku for all the universe's erasures. We also learned about the rules for the actual tournament itself, and the person underneath the hood is called Toppo, which by the way, he looked completely different from the teaser, which people speculated that was meant to be Jiren underneath that hood during that moment of the tournament. Speaking of, we've got Dragon Ball Super Episode 82, where we have Goku fighting Toppo, and Toppo teasing how powerful Jiren is. Now we've got Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 22, as we have the first reveal of Vegeta's Super Saiyan God form, to purposely switch it in and out with Super Saiyan Blue so he can conserve his stamina. And unlike in the anime, Goku's the one that used the Mafuba instead of Trunks, and there's some heated tension between Zamasu and Goku Black. That's until they fuse together. 3 days later, we got the first actual Dragon Ball Z Abridged episode of the year, with the Cell games about to begin.
Wait, you were serious? You're actually gonna fight? I thought you were just somebody's hype man.
I am the hype! Kill him!
Now it's Dragon Ball Super Episode 83, and this is where we had the Universe 7 team recruitment mini arc, with the running joke of Yamcha waiting for an invitation to join. Also, Whis has the ability to rush people's pregnancies, so Bra or Bolo, whatever you want to call her, is now born. Now it's April Fool's season, as we have Dokkan Battle celebrating Saibai Battle, with the idea that Dokkan Battle has completely changed from its startup menu and its gameplay with these false screenshots. The developers gave everyone the mass-produced Soldier Cyberman unit, with the stats basically saying April 1st, 2017. Bandai wasn't the only one with April Fool's fever, as Toei announced the Society Survival arc, with everyone wearing suits and having jobs. Apparently there are 3 short audio-only episodes that were released on YouTube, but sadly I think they all have been privated, and I could only find a description of the first episode, in that Goku and Vegeta play rock paper scissors to decide who will pay for lunch. So this is basically lost media, except this joke has been adapted into Super Dragon Ball Heroes, as well as Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission. Just replace Majin Buu with Frieza in a suit. And I think the Super Dragon Ball Heroes manga had a little bonus chapter about it. I just can't find any translations or even scans for that matter. But I think we can change that if we go on viz.com/company-contact. If we go on the pick a form drop down list and go and select series suggestion, it will open up a Google form. And if you copy the information like what I have here, then maybe we'll get a proper English release. I mean hell, it's been translated to other languages, so I don't know what's stopping them from releasing it over to here. It's not like Shueisha and Viz Media are doing anything new with the IP. Like imagine having a physical version of the book and you open up to chapter 5 and you see Vegito Zeno appear and some possible traced illustrations from Xenoverse 2, which happened on April 1st, 2017. On the next day, we have a new ending theme for Dragon Ball Super. We have Boogie back by Miyu Inui, and I cannot stress this enough, this arc has the best ending songs out of any of the arcs from the series. On April 5th, Toyotaro is in France doing a fan signing with his Goku illustration. 4 days later, we got Dragon Ball Super Episode 85 with Majin Buu looking fit, and of course he has to take a nap. And the other universe is conspiring against Universe 7. On Episode 86, we got Dende telling Goku about Kid Buu's reincarnation, and Dende instructing Goku that he should train him when he grows up. Then we have Goku meeting Android 17 for the very first time. We find out that he's ridiculously strong and that he has a whole family, 2 of which are adopted, and some people theorize that one of them is meant to be Oob, which didn't make sense because Oob is meant to be from a poor village. The following day, the voice actor for Goku in Dragon Ball Z Abridged, Moscow X, has started his What If Raditz Turned Good Dragon Ball discussion. I don't know if he's the first to do these What If videos, but these were the first that I remember watching. everything, and he went on to do a lot more. He sure loved making those villains turn good. On April 21st, according to Kozenshi.com, this was Viz Media's first proper simul release, so we don't have to pirate the latest Dragon Ball Super chapter anymore. Here we have Future Trunks telling Vegeta that future Bulma really wanted to see him before she passed away, which ended up becoming the motivational factor for him and Goku to fuse into Vegito, or Vegeta in Viz Media terms. Zamasu does a pretty cool Kachin attack, which is a pretty cool callback to the Buu saga, and sadly the final Kamehameha mounted to nothing. The next day we got the Dragon Ball Super dub on episode 15 with this infamous line. On April 25th, we got Super Pack 3 for the Xenoverse 2. This includes Goku Black Rose with a British voice.
Let us make this battle a true spectacle.
Zamasu is also playable, and he's voiced by David Gray, which we now know is a pseudonym for James Marsters, who played Piccolo in the Dragon Ball Evolution movie, which is funny to me because it's another green supervillain, and he also plays Brainiac in Smallville, and that character in the comics almost works in the same level as Zamasu, sorta. It's just great casting, all I'm saying. And the third character in the pack is Bojack, and not even in his full power. And to further add about this DLC, this contained a parallel quest where Goku Black was all like,
Magnificent. Goku Black.
I also remember people were upset that this parallel quest was based around the Future Trunks arc, and yet Goku and Vegeta were in their Resurrection F clothes. So people assumed that they weren't going to get Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta in their regular uniforms, and this is how they were going to be represented in the next DLC story. On top of all of that, it was kind of frustrating to see the Super Saiyan transformations be compatible with those uniforms. Well anyways, Dragon Ball Heroes Ultimate Mission X is released on the 3DS, and no, it wasn't released in English, how did you guess? From April 25th to June 8th, the Kirin Beverage Company is running a Dragon Ball campaign in which fans can create their own Dragon Ball character and receive a 3D model of it. All they have to do is to increase the power levels of their characters by inputting the codes attached to the bottles from the Kirin Company, and the characters with the highest power levels are printed on the campaign website. Also, scanning the barcodes of a specific Kirin products will allow anyone to enter into their lottery. Anyone who was successful with getting 14 barcodes would win a 3D figure of their original character, and only up to 50 people can win that. Anyone who is able to collect 7 can win an inflatable sofa with a flying Nimbus print bag, and 1,000 of these were made. Now let's end April 30th with Dragon Ball Super episode 88, with Piccolo helping Gohan reawaken his potential form with a tease that he could go beyond that. We got our first look at Planet Sadala, with Kaba trying to recruit some Saiyans, with a tease of Caulifla in the end, which so many people thought that was the same female Broly from that teaser from a while ago, but they redrawn her like that hooded version of Toppo, but that was just a fandom overthinking. On May 2nd, Viz Media has finally released the first volume of the Dragon Ball Super manga, and from that day I started collecting them all. And also the first volume for Super Dragon Ball Heroes Dark Demon Realm Mission came out. It contains a bonus story from the mangaka's other work, Charisma Mission, and it contains a bonus Super Dragon Ball Heroes card in there. For anyone wondering, it contains a holographic VJX card in there. I think this is the perfect moment to mention that I do take a lot of time researching for these videos, and sometimes it's hard for them to gain traction due to them having very sporadic upload dates, so it really means a lot to me if you like and subscribe, so that way YouTube knows that these are the type of videos that you like, and it would help support me and the channel. Now back to the video. On May 7th, we got the second chapter for That Time I Got Reincarnated as Yamcha, as the kid who was in Yamcha's body was able to beat Vegeta, but he had to let him live because of how crucial that character is within the Dragon Ball story, and with a tease of another character was reincarnated into the world. Also on May 7th, we got Dragon Ball Super episode 89 as we have Kaba meeting Caulifla, and we got our first look at Kale, which we know is the female Broly in the teaser. So around this time, you might have been aware of the Super Saiyan 5 Goku drawing that's been everywhere for like decades. It was discovered that it was drawn by a person named David Montiel Franco. He said he submitted the drawing to a magazine called Hobby Gonzalez, and somehow he wasn't aware that his artwork was popular on the internet, and he was shocked that his designs were used for other fan projects, and that includes Toyotaro's, formerly known as Toyable, Dragon Ball AF Dojin, and apparently he was a little bit peed off considering Toyotaro made it into Shueisha without receiving any sort of credit, but I imagine it'd be pretty hard to give some sort of acknowledgement when it took up to May 2017 to even learn this information. I mean, we even learned that this character isn't even Goku Super Saiyan 5, it's his original character named Tabulos. But after Toriyama's passing from last year, it does seem like he's been more forgiving towards him now. On May 14th, it looks like Toei messed up as they put images of Frieza on their website, with a halo no less, which suggests that he will be part of the Tournament Power arc. Now, the Dragon Ball Super manga is on chapter 24, where they reveal that Trunks was a Supreme Kai assistant, where the ritual is very similar to the Unlock Potential procedure, so Trunks had healing powers this whole time, which explains how Mai and Kawasu survived, with Vegeta insisting that that Trunks restores Goku's strength because he knows that Goku has perfected Super Saiyan Blue, but we also learned that the Super Saiyan Blue state will damage his body. Next up, we got Dragon Ball Super Episode 91, where they make a Team 4-Star reference with Mr. Popo. We got our first look at Ribrienne, if anyone cares about that. And yeah, Boo has fallen asleep, and we just knew that Frieza was going to join in. And in the following week, the Universe 7 gang planned to recruit Frieza, and also Kaba teaching Caulifla how to turn Super Saiyan, and this was the whole back tingle situation, which I cannot stress, so many people got mad about that. Next up, we got the crazy people from Raka Raka making a Dragon Ball Z versus Avatar The Last Airbender video, and it's just crazy to think that these people are full-fledged filmmakers now. On June 2nd, we got Dragon Ball Super Manga Volume 3, and we have a little bonus page of Zamasu swapping bodies with Monaka, and Toyotaro showcasing one of Toriyama's corrections. Now we're on episode 93 of Dragon Ball Super, where Kale goes berserk, and Caulifla turns Super Saiyan 2, and also this is the episode where Goku visits Frieza in Hell. On episode 94, there was this very subtle Easter egg of Goku reenacting his fight with Grandpa Gohan. Frieza has officially been brought back to life for 24 hours, and we see him transform into his golden state, which just shows how much the quality has jumped from the Resurrection F arc. We also see Trunks, Goten, and Marin are left on 17's island, which if you haven't seen Totally Mark's video, he speculated that there was a missing filler arc here, and just from rewatching this episode, I think that might actually be true. Lastly, it was pretty cool to see Piccolo and Android 17 shake hands. Also during this time, it was E3, and Dragon Ball FighterZ was revealed, and so many people pointed out how amazing the game looked in comparison to the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite demo, and that game was supposed to be released in the following day. Makes you wonder why the next Marvel fighting game is made by Arc System Works. On June 14th, Android 18 fought Captain Marvel in Death Battle, and this was the first Dragon Ball win in a while. But there were two issues. One, why did these two characters fight? They're very different from each other, and they said that Android 18 can absorb energy, but she can't. Their point of reference is from the Xenoverse games, but that was just to widen her moveset, and that franchise allows you to use a Spirit Bomb as a Super Saiyan. Well, at least the like to dislike bar is positive. Next up is Dragon Ball Super Episode 95, as we learn that Frieza and Goku can survive a Hakai attack. There's some debate on whether Frieza will betray Universe 7. We also picked up that Frieza has been mentally training in Hell, so he was able to close the gap on the Power Creep. And we also have the Super Saiyan Blue versus Golden Frieza spar, which oh my god, I wish we had this 2 years ago. On June 21st, we got Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 25, as we have the shirtless angry Zamasu. Goku is able to use Hakai. We don't get the corrupted Zamasu like in the anime, but we get this conjoined Zamasu and Goku Black, which ended up getting sliced in half by Trunks, only for them to regenerate and turn into merged Zamasu again, and not even Vegeta's new move Gamma Burst Flash was able to do anything. Now let's get back to the anime, as we're on Dragon Ball Super in episode 96, where we have Whis forcing the team to hold hands to teleport to the Null Realm, which reminded me of this fan drawing. And here we have Frieza meeting Frost, the Universe 6 Saiyans meeting Goku, Jiren's first anime appearance outside of the opening, and we're one episode away from the tournament actually starting. On June 27th, we got the 4th DLC pack for Xenoverse 2. The characters in this pack are Super Saiyan Blue Vegito and Merged Zamasu. Sadly, Super Saiyan Rage Trunks and Corrupted Zamasu are NPCs. Fortunately, Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta were updated, and DBS Trunks got his Sword of Hope finisher. Along with all that, we got a new stage, and oh my god, the new DLC story is awesome. And that's just because of the Sword of Hope animation in the end. Around this time, there's this teaser poster of Goku in a new transformation doing this Akuma impression, and of course there were people that were complaining because it looked kind of plain looking. Nevertheless, it had no name yet, so we just called it the Limit Breaker form, and we assumed that was the transformation that was teased for the opening. Around the same time, we got the Dragon Ball Z The Real 4D at the Super Tenkaichi Budokai, where the antagonist is Broly in his own god form. I remember when the poster was revealed and they showed what Broly would look like, I thought that was meant to be Super Saiyan 3 Broly, and we would see him turn into a normal Super Saiyan god by the end of the film, but in reality I just overlooked his eyebrows. Also, a lot of us thought that the fusion character in the poster was supposed to be Gogeta Blue, but no, this is actually Goku using his god fusion technique with the audience so he can successfully beat Broly. Very sadly, unlike the last 4D ride, you can't find footage of the full experience. There are even 2D moments that look similar to Dragon Ball Super Broly, but sadly this is just another case of lost media within our fandom. But it ain't all gloom and doom, as we have Dragon Ball Super episode 97 as the Tournament of Power begins, and we have a new ending theme with Haruka by Lakotara, which Loki kind of gaslighted us into thinking that Gohan would have a prominent role in this arc. Also on that same day, the global version of Dokkan had its 2nd anniversary. They had the same units as the JP version, except they added the LR Team Gohan in it. I've done some reactionary summon videos around this time, and I just remember getting shafted a lot back then. A week later, we got Dragon Ball Super episode 98, where Universe 9 is already erased and their angel is giving this amused smirk in the end. And I remember thinking that would allude to some sinister intentions around this tournament, but really that's just me overthinking. On the next episode, we got Krillin being eliminated. And now we have July's Dragon Ball Super chapter, where we have Zamasu being defeated, Trunks' world is erased, but Pilaf was able to figure out how to go to an alternate version of Trunks' timeline just before when Babidi and Dabura arrived. And Trunks is wearing a knockoff Supreme shirt. Remember when those things were popular? Irrelevant! Also, Trunks says that he'll give up his Kai apprenticeship after defeating Babidi and Dabura, and they leave the current timeline without answering Pilaf's question about what happened to him in the future. And if you're wondering if the manga version of Gohan did beat this version of Trunks, well, they did for this bonus story for Jump Victory Carnival, where Trunks and Mai were originally planning on staying in the present timeline until they bumped into Gohan, and Gohan, without knowing anything about what happened in the future Trunks arc, basically says that he would like to visit the future sometime, which ended up prompting Trunks into thinking that they should go back into the future. Also, we do get a bit of a hint that Gohan has been training from time to time. And now we're on the 100th episode of Dragon Ball Super, as we get Goku teaching Caulifla how to go Super Saiyan 2, Kale goes berserk again, and does the Hulk Loki smash on Goku, and not even a Super Saiyan Blue Kamehameha was able to knock her out, until Jiren steps in and does his iconic Around this time, there's this VR Dragon Ball game called Master the Kamehameha, and it was playable in VR Zone Shinjuku. From what I can tell, this is like a Ki Blast VR training simulator, and I kinda wish this was a free game to download on Steam. Now we're on July 26th, and this is the end of Nano LR Gen X. To add context, throughout the time that Nano has been playing Dokkan on the global version and the JP version, he was never able to get an LR card. So a lot of people clowned on him for that, even though they probably didn't have LRs too, because back then it was extremely hard to get an LR card. So be sure to congratulate him on the 26th for his 8-year anniversary of this event.
No! 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 Yes!
On July 28th, we got the Dragon Ball Super collectible card game. I wish I could tell you more about this, but my knowledge about it is very little. Also on the same day, Dokkan is having a race war, as we have the JP version is fighting against the global version in this Bulma event, which I cannot stress how one-sided this event was, because so many people who own the global version of Dokkan also own the JP version of it, because Dokkan in Japan was way more up to date than the global version. So the winners of the event will get the Strength Vegeta in his pink shirt, and the losers will get this Yamcha card. Now we're on Dragon Ball Super episode 101, as Kale has finally mastered her Super Saiyan form. Now let me kick off August with the obligatory yearly WWE reference, as we have Sheamus and Cesaro forming the tag team known as The Bar, and in their entrances they're doing the fusion pose, and they did this a lot until they were separated for whatever reason. Now we have Super Dragon Ball Heroes manga chapter 7, as we learned that Supreme Kai of Time can absorb damage. How come she can't do this in any of the Xenoverse games? And also Xeno Gogeta appears. At this point we're on Dragon Ball Super episode 102, as Android 17 interrupts Ribrian's transformation, and we got Vegeta being disgusted at Ribrian's roll technique. And in the next episode we got Gohan fighting Universe 10's Obony, which results in Universe 10 being erased, and Gohan giving this sad look, which people ended up memeing a lot. And now we're on the last chapter of That Time I Got Reincarnated as Yamcha. So during the Cell games, Yamcha also confronts the other person that has been reincarnated, and it was Chatsu. And they basically fight to the death until Yamcha realizes who's in Chatsu's body, which then causes them to get along with each other. And it's then revealed that this is a game that Beerus and Champa have been playing with each other, and Whis returns the souls back to their normal bodies, with the hint that the main character might have retained some of Yamcha's abilities. And now we're on Dragon Ball Super episode 104, as we get the return of Super Saiyan God Goku in the anime, and he's teaming up with Hit. All I'm saying is that there was a big missed merchandise opportunity with these costumes in the Resurrection F clothes. Now we're on August 21st, as we have Dragon Ball Super manga chapter 27, and this is where the Tournament of Power arc begins. We got Vegeta rematching with Beerus, and we also learned that Vegeta has also perfected Super Saiyan Blue and still loses. Whis teasing the idea of moving without thinking, and Vegeta claiming that he'll achieve it, and we also got Goku admitting that he doesn't know his son's birthdays. On August 25th, we got Funimation announcing the voice actors for the Universe 6 arc, and these are pretty noteworthy, like Greg Ayres as Frost, and in real life his brother is the late great Christopher Ayres, who used to play Frieza. And Vegeta doesn't have a voice actor, which to me is still such an odd decision to make, and Matthew Mercer is playing Hit. So outside of Xenoverse 2, Aaron Roberts is no longer to be playing this character, and around this time Matthew Mercer was already playing Jotaro in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and without spoiling that anime, all I'm gonna say is, if you know, you know. On Dragon Ball Super episode 105, we finally see Master Roshi finally overcoming his perversion, and we get the emotional defibrillate scene with Goku in the end. All I'm saying is that Dragon Ball Evolution was the blueprint. The next episode we got Universe 6's Dr. Roda getting limited before we can find out what his abilities were, and this is the episode where Tien sacrifices himself, and I remember people were upset by it because why didn't he just leave one of his clones in the arena? Fast forward to September 9th and 10th, there was this 27-hour long special about the history of Japan, and of course Dragon Ball Super had to make a cameo in it. We see Goku and Whis traveling back in time to see what Japan was like back then, and we see the Dragon Ball characters in position of those historical characters. I believe the full theme can still be seen on YouTube. Moving on to September 16th as we get the first reveal of Android 21 through this illustration by Akira Toriyama. And a few days later, we did get an in-game reveal trailer of her. And believe me when I say this, there were not many people simping for her back then. In fact, the biggest takeaway from this was Goku's hair. Okay, from September 16th to 18th, we got the Fighters closed beta. And unlike the previous betas where it was only exclusive to Sony and PlayStation, Xbox One owners were also able to participate. And as fun as that was, not many people were able to get into a game. So majority of the time we were playing in the training mode, waiting about like 10, 20, if not 30 minutes to find someone to fight with. Regardless, it had better hit detection than Xenoverse 2. But now let's go back to the Dragon Ball Super anime for a little bit as we have episode 107 where Master Roshi forfeits and leaves the stage but ended up gaining Beerus' respect. On September 21st, we got Dragon Ball Super manga chapter 28 where we have the Zenos discussing about reducing the universe's population, so it isn't Goku's fault. We got the first look at the God Summit as well as the God Battle Royale where they all target Beerus because he slept for 50 years during their hide and seek tournament, and we see Beerus exhibit signs of his own automated movement. Now to end off September, as we have Dragon Ball Super episode 108, as we have Frieza working with Frost and portraying Universe 7 and teaching Frost to use the full power form, but this is all a trick just to eliminate him, and we also see Frost end up erasing himself. Now to kick off October, we got Super Dragon Ball Heroes manga chapter 8, where we see Gohan being recruited into the Time Patrol. Lord Slug has a new dark transformation where he has like long energy hair and he's naked. I think the Namekians deserve better transformations in this. And also we get Xeno Gohenks. And now we're on the 2-episode special of Dragon Ball Super, with Goku fighting Jiren and failing just for him to achieve Ultra Instinct, along with the ultimate battle Kaka Kachikaze theme playing. And as we know, Goku ended up losing this fight, with Hit being the next opponent, and it ends on Frieza pointing at Goku, which all in all ended up breaking Crunchyroll and other sites it was streaming on, which I don't want to start a war with One Piece fans, but I want to reiterate, unlike Gear 5, no one knew this was gonna happen. Our biggest tease of this happening was just this poster. Dragon Ball fans are known for not watching the anime or reading the manga, but when they do it real hard. Another interesting point was that Naoki Tate was the animation supervisor for this episode, and he was the same supervisor for episode 5 of the anime. And a lot of people see this as a big redemption moment for him, but it also goes to show what happens when you give animators and artists time to craft their work. And we got the last ending theme of the year, as we have 70cm Square Window by Ross and Graffiti. And on episode 111, we got Frieza giving Goku energy, which was an expected callback to Dragon Ball Z, and we have Hit fighting Jiren, which he ended up losing. And I remember fans were making this theory up that Hit made a clone of himself and his clone is still in the arena, but this was just the fans coping. On October 21st, we got Dragon Ball Super manga chapter 29, where the God Battle Royale ends with Beerus, Quintilla, and secretly Belmod still standing, but the fight gets cancelled because it was too intense for the Zenos to engage with, and the whole tournament almost got cancelled until Goku stepped in, insisting that the fights would be more entertaining between mortals. And instead of the 3v3 Xeno exhibition that we had in the anime, we just have Goku fighting Toppo, and we have Goku cycling through all of his transformations just to lose to Toppo in this adaptation, which just goes to show how different this arc is going to be in the manga than compared to the anime. The next day we got Dragon Ball Super episode 112, where Vegeta promises to Kaba that he's going to revive his universe after the tournament's done, because he remembered Kaba's promise that he would let him visit Universe 6's planet Sadala. Yeah, we're still waiting for that to happen. And Kaba turned Super Saiyan 2 for the very first time, but he ended up getting eliminated by Frieza. And the episode ends with Khalifa wanting to fight Goku. Next up we got Xenoverse 2 finally released on the Nintendo Switch. So not only can you play with motion controls and play on handheld, which actually works pretty decently, but due to Xenoverse 1 never being released on any Nintendo consoles, they added this Legend Patrol Pack DLC on the game, so Nintendo players can play the Xenoverse 1 story for the first time, but with the experience of Xenoverse 2's gameplay. Now let's end October with Dragon Ball Super episode 113, where we have Goku fighting Kale and Caulifla. As we head into November, Shueisha has finally released a full volume for That Time I Got Reincarnated as Yamcha. It contains an extra story where Yamcha is considering whether he should get with Bulma or not, and it ends with him challenging Vegeta just for him to lose. The manga also contains another bonus chapter where both Yamcha and Chasu use the fusion armbands so that they can merge together so they can take on the Cell Juniors, just for them to realize how ugly they look and regret it. Also, the 4th volume of the Dragon Ball Super manga was released. It contains a bonus story of how Guasu met Zamasu when he was a King Kai. Also, Zamasu has a flying pig this whole time. My headcanon is that the pig is the one that created the Zero Mortal plan. The Japanese volume of the manga ends with a 2-page spread that teases a universal survival arc, and it contains this illustration of Goku as a pirate, which is an homage to a 1986 issue of Weekly Shonen Jump. And there was another one-on-one interview between Toyotaro and Toriyama, which I remember the biggest takeaway from that was Toriyama telling Toyotaro to ease up on the action scenes, basically stating that he's good at it, but he needs to calm down a little bit, which I think he's done a good job of it over the past few years. Now let's return to the anime for a little bit as Kefla is born. And now we're on November 8th as we have the nostalgia nostalgia critic making a video on Dragon Ball Evolution. And not only do the voice actors for Goku and Frieza from Dragon Ball Z Abridged, Little Kuribo, and Moscow X appear in this video, but Kyle Hebert makes a cameo here as well.
Next time on Dragon Ball The Last Airbender, oh, forget it.
Hey Kyle, where are you going? Get back here, you coward!
On Dragon Ball Super episode 115, we see Kefla almost beating Goku, and that's until Goku was able to reawaken his Ultra Instinct again. And now we're halfway through November, we gotta kick it off with this iconic image of Toriyama outside of his house. Basically, he was taking out his garbage and he was confronted by a news reporter, and it was about him allegedly voicing Texas. But honestly, no one cared about that. We were just happy to see a modern day image of Toriyama himself. Not to mention, people did meme on the way he was reacting, and to further add, yeah, that pretty much looks like the Resurrection F Gohan fit. And to further add, the colorized version of these photos were revealed last year after he'd passed away, and you know what? It was kinda nice to see him smile. So now this is a bit of a hard topic to bring up. It was learned that on November 16th that Hitomi Suru, the voice actor for Bulma, had passed away. She had been there for the Dragon Ball anime since the very beginning and been doing the voice for her for over 31 years. And not to mention the vast amount of performances that she has done outside of Dragon Ball, which highlighted how talented she was. And fortunately we'll hear her as Bulma again when Dragon Ball FighterZ comes out. And yeah, may she rest in peace. On Dragon Ball Super episode 116, we got Goku eliminating Kefla in the coolest way possible, and the Japanese broadcast ends with a tribute to Hitomi Suru, stating that Suru-san gave her courage and kindness to countless people of all ages, and we sincerely pray that she rests in peace. On November 21st, we got Dragon Ball Super manga chapter 30, as we have Jiren's first manga appearance, where he comes across as a heroic mix of Batman and Superman. And at first, Jiren did not want to participate because he didn't want to get involved with the destruction of other universes, and as until Belmont comes in and tells him if he does participate, he will gladly give him the wish, which he does accept the offer. On Dragon Ball Super episode 117, we got Ribrian calling Krillin ugly, which I now realize is completely different from the manga, and she ended up getting eliminated by Android 18. On November 28th, we got the Hero Coliseum for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which I still think this was Bandai's attempt at bringing Dragon Ball heroes to us. And this update did come with 2 extra trophies/achievements. Around this time, there was this new Saikyo Jump issue, and it contains a special Q&A with Akira Toriyama, and this is where we learned about S-cells, and basically if a Saiyan contains enough S-cells in them, they can reach Super Saiyan. And having a gentle spirit and being around a calm environment actually improves it, which explains so much like why Goten and Trunks were able to transform so easily than compared to any Saiyan from Planet Vegeta. And Toriyama also gives us the origin of the Super Saiyan God, that he was a pure-hearted Saiyan named Yomoshi, and he and his 5 comrades started rebelling towards the evil Saiyans, and when he was cornered, he became a Super Saiyan for the first time. He ended up getting worn out and was defeated. However, his spirit still wandered in pursuit of 6 pure-hearted Saiyans, seeking a new savior, a Super Saiyan God. And this information was recorded in the Namekian Book of Legends, because the Namekian elder who wrote it sympathized with Yomoshi's spirit, which clarifies how Shenron retains this information. And all this was an incredible lore dump that just came out of nowhere, and the fact that it has been drawn or animated is just still crazy to me. Okay, now we're on Super Dragon Ball Heroes manga chapter 9, where we have Time Breaker, Super Saiyan 4, Dark Dragon Ball, Corrupted Broly. Oh my god, what is this fanfiction, bro? And we have Mira fusing with Toa, but unlike in Xenoverse 2, this was temporary. We see that Xeno Goku turned Super Saiyan 4, and we didn't expect that would be the direction that we'd go with these versions of the characters. Like, we expected Super Saiyan God or Super Saiyan Blue from it. And this is a triple threat that ends with Mira's left standing. And now let's move back to the Dragon Ball anime again, where we have Gohan and Piccolo fighting the Universe 6 Namekians, fused with everyone from their planet, which reminded some of us of Gas from Dragon Ball Multiverse. And we have a cool cameo from Nail and Kami, but in the end, Universe 2 and 6 get erased, and we have this ambiguous goodbye from Champa to Beerus, where Beerus says after Champa is erased, and I love this moment because who is he saying that to exactly? Like, was he saying that to Champa so he can give an actual goodbye? Was he saying that to himself because he didn't give a farewell to his own brother? Or was he talking to the narrator because he wanted the episode to finish already and to avoid dwelling on the moment? Honestly, this is a certified cinema moment. On December 5th, we got Xenoverse 2's Extra Pack 1. This DLC pack includes Dabura, Super Buu, Gohan Absorbed, Tapion, and Android 13, not even the full powered one. But his data input super move did create some bootleg Ultra Instinct characters. It also includes 3 extra achievements/trophies. On episode 119 of Dragon Ball Super, this is where the Invisible Fighter comes in, and so many people were just trying to figure out what he looks like. Piccolo ends up getting eliminated, and also Universe 4 gets erased. On December 15th, we got the first ever Toyotaro Tried to Draw. This is a special monthly series where the mangaka tries to draw one of Toriyama's characters, mainly outside of the Dragon Ball Super franchise. So the first character that he drew was Android number 8, aka Aider or Hot-chan, and the caption underneath says, "The artificial humans' love of nature nature is inherited from him, or so I personally suspect. It'd be nice if he gets another chance to shine. On December 16th, we got the last Dragon Ball Super episode of the year for the Funimation dub version, and at this point I was keeping up with the English and Japanese releases, but this was the beginning of the Copy Vegeta arc, and initially I was just gonna wait for this arc to finish and then binge it once it's all done, but Funimation made this clever decision by casting Brian Drummond, aka the voice actor for Vegeta, in the Ocean dub and voice cast him as Copy Vegeta. And just like that, me and so many people stay tuned for this filler arc. And the dub for Dragon Ball Z Kai is on episode 45, with the kids training in the time chamber and Gohan receiving his power up. Now let's move on to the last Dragon Ball Super manga chapter of the year, as we have chapter 31, as we see what happened to Android 17 after Cell was defeated. We got our first proper look of Oob in the series. We also see Goku fighting 17, but he's in Super Saiyan 3, so the power scalers that are angry that he fought him in Super Saiyan Blue in the anime can calm down over here. And we have Piccolo's plan to Zenkai boost the shit out of Gohan. On December 24th, we got the last Dragon Ball Super episode of the year with episode 121. And this is the episode where Universe 7 fights Ani Raza, who bears so much resemblance to Hachiyak. And we see 18 sacrificing herself to save Android 17, and in the end Ani Raza loses and Universe 3 is erased, which means that only 2 universes remain with 8 fighters left on stage. So Universe 7 has Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Android 17 and Frieza, and Universe 11 has Jiren, Toppo and Dispo, meaning that we will see the climax of it all in 2018. And now the last topic that I can find for 2017. On December 30th, Toonami aired a Dragon Ball Super Destroys 2017 marathon, which is basically a rerun of the Universe 6 arc, and this was the last Toonami block of the year. And that is it for 2017, and man, what a big year for the Dragon Ball fandom. This is my longest video yet in these Dragon Ball in the year whatever videos, as well as my longest video yet on this channel. And they say quality over quantity, but Dragon Ball in 2017 had a lot of quality with that quantity. So much so that it took me a while to make this video. So in terms of Dragon Ball in 2018, I'm gonna take a little pause on that, mainly because my PC storage is getting filled up because of how much footage I'm gathering all together. So I've been meaning to clean that up, and there's one video that I've been meaning to make for over a year now, and it's about how last year I watched one episode of Dragon Ball Z Kai a day, and it was my first time watching that series, and hopefully you guys would like to see it. And then afterwards I'll jump straight back into Dragon Ball in 2018. So be sure to subscribe and also hit the notification bell button so that you'll be notified for when those videos will be out, and make sure to smash that like button, and see ya next time.